Hi. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab whatever it is that you drink. I don't care. We are going to have a short discussion about a couple of discrepancies that I have noticed. And the people who are the main person involved knows about it, but I had mentioned that I had done an interview with Lunarwisdom. Now, this is true. I have actually done it. Now, the timeline looks a bit messed up. I spent my morning digging around because I always have some sort of evidence because of living with my ex. I had to always have evidence of something because if I didn't, well, it just didn't happen. So I always have to have some sort of proof. And yes, it sucks living this way, and she and I have already discussed the fact that it sucks living that way. But, meaning Cricketsong and me, or Sherry, you know, just, she has many names, and that's okay. But, it also took me a couple of days because I'm not used to the new layout, new to me layout. So I didn't realize that exactly where or why, like, even for me to, sorry, I'm swapping hands, in order to approve the comments, because I had them set to have to be approved for them not to be visible, because some people are just rude. But anyway, it took me a couple of days in order to even be notified that Sherry Cricketsong had left a comment, but she also brought up on my last draconic video that we had tried to done it. Oh my god. Bad grammar. Tried to do it. And then we had to redo it. Moving on. But you can laugh at my expense there if you wish. But that was... Anyway. And that's actually what happened. We did it... I don't remember the exact date, but we did do it back in November of 2016. I had just... It was around the time that I have found out that I was pregnant with my middle child, Johnny. And then, because I didn't like how, you know, I came across a... Sorry, I'm fiddling with the charging cord, because if I don't charge my phone, it'll die. November 16th. November 2016. Sorry. I don't remember what I was going to say. I'm distracting myself. But, I remembered that we were living in the old apartment. It was around the time that I found out that I was pregnant with Johnny. And then, oh, I remember. Okay, sorry. Again, mom brain. I didn't like how nervous I was, how giggly I was. And there was at least one comment that addressed it, and they weren't exactly nice about it. And pretty much they said that they weren't going to take me seriously because of how giggly I was. Never mind the fact that it hadn't been years since I hadn't been on a very public, especially, I've never done an interview like that up until that point. So I was especially nervous. And it sucked. Not the interview, me having the interview with Cricketsong, I'm trying to get comfortable. The interview with Cricketsong wasn't what sucked. It was the other people involved that sucked. Because while I'm trying to talk to her, I'm being kind of like side-eyed and getting the evil eye, like the stink eye, over in the corner. And it's just like, you know, I'm being judged for what the hell I'm saying. And then I also had that particular person who has been an issue pop in and ask their question of, you know, what sort of offerings, blah, blah, blah. And then I also had, while I'm getting these questions and trying to answer them, I'm getting, like, noise up in here from my own guardians and blocking and just that sense of what do I need to know. And I couldn't just stop doing the interview in order to pay attention to my guides. So they're kind of like little children sometimes, and especially when I'm talking about them. And apparently they didn't want, I'm guessing they didn't want certain things in order to know, because when I went to go and answer this particular question, the video glitched. And so, and I find it ironic that it happened that way, because when I went to go and do a video on the subject matter at hand, and that's kind of when I found out that they were back to their old ways on trying to steal info in order to pretty much regurgitate it. So apparently they knew what was up, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, I see the good in people, or I try to see the good in people, and I hate feeling like there's always someone out to get me for whatever reason or another. And so I give them chance after chance after chance, and even so willing to just, you know, answer a question. I mean, I'm not now, but I was, especially back then. But anyway, so because of the whole thing of I didn't like how that went down, I didn't like, you know, the side-eyeing, the negative comments about, you know, my demeanor, I went ahead and tried to redo the interview with Cricketsong without certain people around, July of 2020. That did not get posted until September 2020. But we did try to redo it, and the video quality was worse than the original one. And, well, and apparently, because something that Sherry said caught my attention this morning, and which drove me down this rabbit hole. I don't know if I'm repeating myself. If I am, I deeply apologize. But she had mentioned that she was curious as to whether that interview was still up. And I knew, like, I remembered that we had done it twice. So I went digging through her channel. And I found the one from 2020, but I didn't find the one from 2016. And so I had let her know. And, you know, about an hour or two later, that's when I found out that she had already commented on the last Draconic Path video. That pretty much in a non-direct way, address the fact that we had done it a couple of times. And I do have some pieces of evidence that, you know, I don't have everything. Like, I don't have the original interview, but I do have where I talk about it. I have Sherry's poll from my little secret cave of, you know, asking the group when she was in it, of, you know, should I do the interview that was back in 2016 when she had set up that poll. It's still in there. And an old conversation with my ex about, you know, me doing it and, you know, me venting about the negative comments and whatnot. So, and those are dated back in 2016. So I do have some evidence that points towards the existence that the first interview actually did exist. And plus, there's, you know, outside of my own account, there's Sherry's, Cricketsong's, and there's also the people who have followed me for years and who had seen the interview. So, it did exist. Unfortunately, it is not there, but, you know, I always had to cover my ass, especially when I'm basically throwing people underneath the bus, even though I'm not naming names. But I have to also make sure that, you know, other people outside the situation aren't being gaslit either. Because this is a crappy situation that never should have existed. And it never would have if certain people didn't ignore my existence and didn't ignore the fact that I created the draconic path. Just a simple little thing as giving credit. And one thing that I still find funny was that you were asked if you were sure, if you didn't know anybody else. You still said no. She asked you that for a reason. It's kind of one of those mom test things of we know the answer, but we're going to ask you anyway to see if you tell the truth. You failed. Just say. So, yeah. I just wanted to clear that up. And eventually we will move on away from this. Again, this has been stewing for literally years. Since 2013. And I have evidence of that too. Not 2012, like you claim. This all started in 2013 when a certain person decided to not give credit. And then, you know, take off with the path that I created. Anyway, okay. Again, I have things to do. And the next video will be a little bit lighter subject and hopefully not revolving around this, because I do eventually want to move on. I just want to get it out in the air, out in the open, and say that, yes, this crappy thing did happen, and yes, this is why I stopped talking about the draconic path, and why I struggled for, one of the reasons for why I struggled for years in order to come back. And also, I want to bring up again, if you guys want to make a secret group on Facebook, or we can do Instagram. Not, I have trust issues with a certain clock app, if you get my meaning, because of the whole, you know, we're gonna be gone and now we're back, and I don't want to put my trust in something so deep and personal into an app that can potentially disappear any random day. So, that's just me. So yeah. Or I may just make whatever, but I don't know who is interested and who's not. And I don't know who I can trust or to put in there and who I can't. Because there are definitely people I don't want in there. There was a random loud noise. I should go and check that out. Have a nice day.